Welcome to On the Page. This is the podcast that answers all of your questions about the craft and business of screenwriting. My name is Pilar Alessandra, and I'm the instructor and script consultant here at On the Page. And today's episode is one that a lot of listeners look forward to. It is the Logline competition. Now, each year, On the Page writers send in the loglines of their movie and TV ideas to be evaluated for writing and for concept. Now, the winner wins a copy of The Coffee Break Screenwriter. I wrote that. And, The Coffee Break Screenwriter Breaks the Rules, and a 1-hour story consultation with me to help you brainstorm a new script or pitch a completed script that you've already written. Now, this year, we're doing things a little bit differently as we are recording on Zoom. I thought it would be helpful to post the entire episode on YouTube so that you can actually see us and see the on-screen, the log lines that we are discussing. And so part one of this episode will just be me giving a small logline class as I evaluate 26 of the 85 loglines that were submitted. Now, if you watch on YouTube, you'll be able to see some before and after examples. In part two, I'll welcome my friend Adib Desai to the podcast, and we will dig into some of the remaining log lines, picking our favorite 15 and whittling it down to one winner and one runner-up. So let's get started, okay? I am going to share my screen. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start with Brendan Day. He's from New York City. He has a feature logline, and it reads, a gifted high school student begins helping rich classmates cheat on standardized tests for money. Okay, this is a decent logline. It's a great idea. It's the begins part. A gifted high school student begins helping rich classmates cheat on standardized tests for money. Okay, so he does that. I kind of feel like it needs a little bit more. Maybe it needs some more detail to get to the hook. So you could say, when a gifted high school student begins helping rich classmates cheat on standardized tests for money, she finds herself the target of someone. Or, in order to achieve a personal goal, a gifted high school student begins helping rich classmates cheat on standardized tests for money. Or, a gifted high school student becomes something when she begins helping rich classmates cheat on standardized tests for money. So you see how adding some of those details might actually bring out even more of the hook of an already solid idea. Thank you, Brendan. Okay, we're moving on to Ernesto Amaya. Ernesto Amaya from Mesa, Arizona, and this is for a series. Now, Ernesto writes, a comedy about the cast and crew of a B-grade reality show that will do anything to save it from getting canceled. That's Ernesto's logline. Okay, so this is about the cast and crew of a B-grade reality show that will do anything to save it from getting canceled. Okay, so I want a little more detail in there so that this logline pitches even better. So we're going to get rid of a comedy about. We already know that. And instead, we're going to add some detail. So it might read, the cast and crew of a B-grade reality show will do anything to save it from getting canceled, including blank, blank, and blank. Okay, and those details, when Ernesto fills in the blank, will really bring out what the series is like. We're going to move on to Tracy Boothman. Also needs a little detail in here. Tracy is from Providence, Rhode Island, and this is a film. When a Jewish teen imprisoned at Auschwitz-Birkenau cracks the mystery of the Hollerith data machine, she joins a rebellion that pushes her and the women she admires beyond the realm of tragedy and into eternal heroism. So it sounds really sparkly, but things like beyond the realm of tragedy and into eternal heroism are a little general, believe it or not. It sounds like you're sort of pitching the message of it. Okay, I would like to get a more specific phrase then beyond the realm of tragedy and into eternal heroism. Okay, so it was almost there. It's very interesting. I needed you not to cheat this ending, Tracy. We're going to Ethan Walker from Huntersville, North Carolina. This is for a short animated series. So Ethan writes a log line, which goes like this. Their homes, destroyed by a hurricane, force a young robin and blue jay to traverse the dangerous and magical countryside to find family. Okay. Their homes, destroyed by hurricane, force a young robin and blue jay to traverse the dangerous and magical countryside to find family. So we know that they are traversing the countryside to find family. It's very nice, but I think it could have, again, a little more detail to get to the hook. So, Ethan, you could try. After their homes are destroyed by a hurricane, a young robin and blue jay traverse the dangerous and magical countryside to find family, encountering obstacle, obstacle, and obstacle along the way. Now we're going to go to Dave Bradley, and Dave Bradley is from Sydney, Australia, and this is a film. On a sumptuous honeymoon road trip, a delightful newlywed couple become obsessed with the idea of committing suicide. Okay, all right, so I need to know a little bit more, okay? So you could add to it with, when something happens on a sumptuous honeymoon road trip, a delightful newlywed couple become obsessed with the idea of committing suicide and set out to do something, okay? So it's not just that they become obsessed, but something happens that triggers it, and that makes them set out to do something. Thank you so much, Dave. Okay, I'm going to give you another example here. This is from Robert Chapman from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and this is a feature film. Now, this is an example of somebody who has a decent log line, but might only be log lining the first act. This is how it reads. With the help of his family, a man takes his mother's ashes to be buried with his father, only to discover that his father's remains are missing. Okay, that's very interesting. But it just sounds like the launch of something. So this is an example of a log line that leans a lot into the first act, might have more to the movie. And I'm bringing it up because a lot of people do this. A lot of people only logline their first act. Yes, the hook might lie in that, but there might be more. So you could maybe even start with it. So after discovering that his father's remains are missing, a man does what? That might be where the movie really is. Okay, now I'm going to go into an example of when people name versus describing. And this is Arthur Adler from Boston, Massachusetts. And I believe this is a film. So he writes, okay, alone despite his success, baseball star Al Russell faces the choice of staying in the MLB or pursuing a relationship with his newfound brother. Okay. Or he could have written, alone despite his success, a burnt out baseball star faces the choice of staying in the MLB or pursuing a relationship with his newfound brother. So a lot of people do this where they name people in the log line as though we know who this is. Now, one caveat here is that maybe Al Russell's a really famous baseball player. And if he is, then this is on me, you guys. I could just be an idiot. All right. Everybody knows who Al Russell is, right? Well, if they don't, okay, if they don't, maybe describing Al Russell with more description, like burnt out baseball star, and not naming him might actually strengthen the log line. Here's another example. Colin Higgins writes, young adult Honey discovers that she and her parents are werewolves, goes against their demands for secrecy, and risks being shunned from werewolf society in order to figure out who is hunting their kind. Okay, so young adult Honey, but I don't know honey, and so it might just be more powerful just to describe honey as a young adult. Okay, and we're going to smooth it out a little bit. After a young adult discovers that she and her parents are werewolves, she goes against their demands for secrecy and risks being shunned from werewolf society in order to figure out who is hunting their kind. Okay, so the name doesn't distract. Now, I'm about to share with you a bunch of logline examples that with really strong ideas that just need editing. So what we talked about before was, can we add a little bit to bring out more detail or get to the hook or give some examples? In this case, I'm going to say, can we edit a little bit to get more focus? So this is Natalie Gilday from Vancouver, BC, and this is a film. And the logline is, a midlife crisis and a strong-willed toddler propel a stifled creative to pursue her dreams of writing by finally sharing her story. From mad mommy to mad love, the greatest journey happens with the human heart. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, and on one half of it, Natalie's giving this great logline, but then going on, I think, to talk about either the title of the story or the theme. So we're just going to whittle it down and get rid of from mad mommy to mad love, the greatest journey happens with the human heart. And now Natalie, it's going to be a midlife crisis and a strong-willed toddler propel a stifled creative to pursue her dreams of writing by finally sharing her story. Do you hear how much more powerful that is? Okay. We're moving on to Alessandra Esposito from Redmond, Washington, and this is a film. Having formed a contentious attachment to a protean, I hope I have that right, musician, a single, fiercely independent young woman struggles in her relationship with men while navigating the unfamiliar and complex social scene of the London music industry in an attempt to escape consequences from a past relationship. So you can hear how that goes on. Okay, so never mind the fact that I can't pronounce protein. What we're going to do is we're going to edit out the end of it, which is in an attempt to escape consequences from a past relationship. So now it's going to read, having formed a contentious attachment to a protean musician, a single, fiercely independent young woman struggles in her relationship with men while navigating the unfamiliar and complex social scene of the London music industry. Period. Okay. Strong ideas, strong logline, just too much. Okay, and I promise to look up the pronunciation of that word. All right, so the next one is from Helena Village from Vienna, Austria, and this is a film. A group of disenchanted dreamers plunge into reopening a ramshackle old theater in hopes to escape the status quo of their lives and create the future they start dreaming up in the process. So you can hear how it's kind of going on a little longer than it should. So let's just edit it down to a group of disenchanted dreamers plunge into reopening a ramshackle old theater in hopes of escaping the status quo of their lives, period. Now we're going to go to Deborah Jarvis from Seattle, Washington, and this is a feature film. In a bitter race to save a kid's cancer program, a narcissistic fundraiser lets people think she is terminally ill, so donations skyrocket. But when her lie becomes a reality, she decides to use the truth to save a life, but not her own. So Deborah, we're going to whittle this down a little bit to, in a bitter race to save a kid's cancer program, a narcissistic fundraiser lets people think she is terminally ill, so donations will skyrocket, period. Okay, so as you can see, you guys, these are great examples. These are great log lines, really, really good movies. I would watch all of them. It's just the log lines themselves need a little bit less, okay? We're going to go to Rebecca Jean Carroll from London, and this is a feature. When a skeptical woman and her slacker ex are matched up via an anonymous sperm donor app. They agree to try and conceive. But as they begin to tie up the loose ends of their tumultuous past, their resolve to go separate ways is tested. So I think it's still a little bit too much. So let's just try. When a skeptical woman and her slacker ex are matched up via an anonymous sperm donor app, they agree to try and conceive, period. Okay, I think that the subtext of their tumultuous past coming back in, or the fact that they may have to resolve past conflicts, come in anyway. The next one is from Kenneth Benerval from Tarnaby, Sweden, and this is a movie. Desperate to prove himself to his conservative and retiring parents, a careless yet ambitious stoner takes to the streets to earn the respect required to expand and take over the family business, the business of body disposal. So here, all I did was delete a couple of words. We're going to delete and retiring, and we're going to delete the second, the business. Anyway, it'll make more sense when I say it. Here we go. Desperate to prove himself to his conservative parents, a careless yet ambitious stoner takes to the streets to earn the respect required to expand and take over the family business of body disposal. Okay, so it just flows a little bit better. Again, great idea. Thank you, Kenneth. Okay, this is from Shaquille A. Nelson from Raleigh, North Carolina, and this is a film. Hello, Shaquille. He writes, in a future where scarcity has been eliminated via fusion power and androids, a desolate man, Talanus, seeks to protect the establishment when he discovers his society is not all what it seems, as he is swept up in trying to stop his society from being destroyed by a rogue faction of androids. Okay, that's a great idea, but it is a lot. So we're editing it down to, in a future where scarcity has been eliminated via fusion power and androids, a desolate man seeks to protect the establishment from being destroyed by a rogue faction of androids. Okay, thank you, Shaquille. Okay, now we're going to go to Erin Crawley from Vancouver, and this is a feature film. Erin Crawley's was, when a broke student doctor drops out to care for her sick father, she accepts a huge cash offer to drive 3 strangers around the city for one night, only to realize the strangers are specialist killers on a mission to rescue a kidnapped girl with a rare and valuable blood type from a nest of vampires. Erin, great idea, needs editing. So we're going to whittle it down to, a broke student accepts a huge cash offer to drive 3 strangers around the city for one night, only to realize the strangers are specialist killers on a mission to rescue a kidnapped girl from a nest of vampires. Now, the fact that she has a rare and valuable blood type will come out as we're reading the script. Okay, and also the fact that she was a doctor who dropped out to care for her sick father, that will also come out in the first act when we're reading the script. Josh C. Mannheimer from Norwich, Vermont. This is a feature film. It almost gets there, Josh. You're right. A born-again small-town realtor from Texas follows her philandering FBI husband to New York City, where she sells luxurious condos to the charming, murderous Russian oligarch he's wiretapping, and she falls for. And guess what, Josh? I'm getting rid of and she falls for, okay? It's just kind of hanging out there. So now it would read, a born-again small-town realtor from Texas follows her philandering FBI husband to New York City, where she sells luxurious condos to the charming, murderous Russian oligarch he's wiretapping, period. The fact that she may end up falling for him is something that we'll find out in the read. Now, sometimes people create a logline that is actually better for a pitch. In a pitch, it would be fine, but as a logline standing on its own, it just sounds like you're pitching, not loglining. Let me give you an example. Mike Willis from Los Angeles, and this is a feature. Hi, Mike. In 1957, 3 tenacious, ridiculously talented ball-playing Black women stepped onto the field of professional professional Negro League baseball and made history. Women playing alongside and against the men at a time when discrimination, prejudice, and gender bias had a name, Jim Crow. So you can hear it, right? It sounds like the beginning of a pitch. It's not necessarily sort of the one sentence encapsulation of the idea of this movie that I'm looking for in a log line. But as the beginning of a pitch, it's excellent. So this is also a pitch, not a log line. This is from Lisa Iannucci from Poughkeepsie, New York. This is a TV series. And she writes, what would have happened if Blanche Devereaux had a TikTok account, Rose Nyland had a Twitter, and Dorothy Zbornak had an Instagram account? Meet three 50-year-old Golden Girls who meet weekly at a bookstore to drink wine, talk books, and complain about life. When one of their outbursts goes viral, the three women are suddenly internet sensations, but not everyone who comes into their life afterward is happy about their success. Okay. So that is 1, 2, 3 sentences. It's not the one sentence log line I'm looking for, Lisa, but it is a great little pitch. Pitches really well, except for the fact that your Golden Girls are 50, because really 50, Lisa, Golden Girls 50 could maybe a little bit older if they're going to be described as Golden Girls. Okay, just... I'm all right. Okay, we're moving on to Marissa. I think it's Sinters from Los Angeles. And this is a feature. On the eve of retirement, two resourceful Colorado women dive into the ruthless marijuana business in this competitive stoner comedy designed for potheads and their grandchildren to enjoy together. Okay, so again, a great pitch, Marissa. Not necessarily the log line I'm looking for, but it is fun as a pitch, okay? That stoner comedy designed for, and now you're talking about the audience it's designed for, not necessarily the actual idea itself. Okay. Lisa Gibson, this is an animated feature. Having permanently damaged his tail, a squirrel named Alex gets released in a new location where he feels very small and truly alone. Getting lost in the wilderness of the redwood forest and making new friends may be the only way to find his way home. So that's 2 sentences. Again, it's more of a pitch. The idea that you're sort of giving the lesson of it in that second sentence. Okay, but again, a great idea. Now, sometimes just a little better wording could change the whole log line. So this is from Sylvia, who is the mom of Shaquille A. Nelson, and she is from Raleigh, North Carolina, and this is a feature. And she writes, an alien comes to Earth to find love, but once he gets here, he realizes that the people on Earth are not like him, so he must find a way to fit in, to find love, and to be accepted. So Sylvia, I hope you don't mind, but I moved some words around a little bit, and I changed it to, when an alien comes to Earth to find love and realizes that the people on Earth are not like him, he sets out to find a way to fit in and to be accepted. Now I'm going to move on to another little word problem in the log line of Marvin Mendresch from Cologne, Germany. And this is for a TV series, or maybe Mendreck. Sorry, Marvin. Sorry for murdering the pronunciation of your name. You have a great idea, but there is one wording problem, and it may just be a typo. A lonely rat hunter searching for his sister in the maze of tunnels below the futuristic metropolis falls into a trap set by exterminators and has to rely on a former of them. So I'm not sure on a former of them what that means. So this is a bit of a wording problem. If it's a typo, you're just going, oh. If it's not, I would just find a better, some better wording, a former what, okay? Because you were almost there. I was in it. Rat hunter searching for his sister in the maze of tunnels below a futuristic metropolis, falls into a trap set by exterminators. That's great, okay? So just a little bumpy with the wording that comes next. Okay, Freddie D, and we're still talking about some wording issues. A gay screenwriter has to face the hardships with family as his Hawaiian mother dies unexpectedly in Eureka, as his father despises him, and he has to adapt to live without his mother. So, interesting idea, a little clunky in the execution. So, I've rewritten it a little bit. After his Hawaiian mother dies unexpectedly, a gay screenwriter has to face the hardships of dealing with a father who despises him. Okay, notice we got rid of in Eureka, okay, and we moved a few things around. Brianna Tolbert from Los Angeles, she has a feature. After surviving a dorm party mass shooting, a traumatized student and her boyfriend book a relaxing vacation in Mexico and struggle to stay alive when they see a ruthless gang leader murder a guest in the next hotel room. So it's working, but I felt like you could maybe get the point of it in a little bit more instead of this happens and then this happens. So I reworded it a tiny bit. Survivors of a dorm party mass shooting find themselves struggling to stay alive once again when they see a ruthless gang leader murder a guest in the next hotel room. Try that, Brianna, see if it works for you. Okay, now a small word change, the smallest word change in a log line can mean a big difference. So here's an example. This is from Nancy Bridley Bagia. She's from Huntsville, Alabama, formerly from Burbank, and this is a film Nancy has placed before in this very same log line competition. She definitely knows what she's doing. She wrote, an egotistical starting quarterback must pass trigonometry to maintain the minimum GPA required for eligibility to play in the national championship game, and his only hope of passing is to be tutored by the I'm murdering her log line. I'm going to say this one more time. Sorry, guys. An egotistical starting quarterback must pass trigonometry to maintain the minimum GPA required for eligibility to play in the national championship game, and his only hope of passing is to be tutored by the marching band geek whom he has tormented for years. Okay. It's a great idea. And I am going to add the smallest things. I am going to add when, and I'm going to get rid of and. It is now going to read, when an egotistical starting quarterback must pass trigonometry to maintain the minimum GPA required for eligibility to play in the national championship game, his only hope of passing is to be tutored by the marching band geek whom he has tormented for years. Add a when, get rid of an and it's a tighter log line. And also hopefully read by somebody with less cotton mouth. So I wanted you to see with these examples how a little editing or a little detail or just a small word change, how it can change everything, okay, to give you a stronger log line. These were all great ideas, and I so much appreciate you having submitted them. We are going to move on to part 2 with Adib Desai coming in, and we are going to talk about the rest of the log lines that were submitted, because remember, there were 85 in total. And Adib and I are going to talk about our favorite 15, and I'm going to get a drink of water. So stay tuned for part 2.